Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Committee of Adjustment for April 15th, 2025. First, I'd like to introduce the committee members and staff that are present. Committee members in attendance this evening are Kevin Antonitis, Adam Mottershead is online, Fabia Billing, Dylan Bailey is online, and I am Daniel Collins. Staff members present are Walter Basic, the Deputy Director of Planning, and Delahara Abiwarden, the Secretary Treasurer. This meeting will be live streamed. So live streaming, members of the public are advised that our meetings are live streamed by the town of Grimsby. Individuals and media may be audibly and or visually recorded during this meeting. As a reminder, all electronic devices are to be in silent mode during our committee meeting. For an overview of the meeting procedures, the purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the agent, the applicant or agent, and to any other person who files a written request. To request a copy of the decision, please email Delahara Abiwarden, the Secretary Treasurer, at coa@grimsby.ca. The applicant, Town of Grimsby, the minister, or a specified person or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal, known as the OLT, within 20 days of the date of giving notice under subsection 17 is completed for a consent application, and within 20 days of the date of decision for a minor variance application. Specified persons and certain public bodies include public utilities, but do not include an individual or community association. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through me, the chair. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak. Each participant may only speak once. If you hear your comment presented by someone else, please do not duplicate the remarks. When you are called, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. All members of the committee have viewed the properties on the agenda tonight and are familiar with the lands that are subject to the applications. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Do any members of the committee have any pecuniary interest with respect to the applications that are before us this evening? Okay, I see none. Adoption of the agenda. We will now consider the adoption of the agenda for this evening. And I have it moved by committee member Billings and seconded by committee member Antonitis that the minutes be approved for April 15, 2025. I'd like to put this to a vote. So all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. No one opposed, so that is carried. Next on the agenda, the newly appointed vice chair has submitted his resignation. We will need to vote we will need to ask for a vote to accept the resignation. If the vote goes through, then we will appoint a new vice chair. So do we have a mover and a seconder for whether or not we will accept the resignation of the vice chair? Dylan? Okay, seconded by Member Antonitis. So we'll put this to a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. No one opposed. So that is carried, and that's too bad. So we're sorry to hear that. So next up then is we're going to vote for a new chair position. So would anyone like to nominate someone or themselves for the position of vice chair?
I'll nominate Faye.
Okay, we have Faye as nominated. Do I have a seconder on that? Decline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, it's been declined. Do we have another suggestion? I'm going to go ahead and nominate Kevin. Can I get a seconder on that? Adam seconds it. Okay, let's put that to a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? It's carried. So congratulations to our next vice chair, Mr. Kevin Antonitis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're running out of people.
Next on the agenda, we have requests for withdrawal or adjournment. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
Not for withdrawal or adjournment, but we have a request for a deferral.
Okay. I see here that we have the applicant is requesting a deferral for applications B01-25 and A10-25 for 133 and 137 Main Street East. Do we have anyone that wants to make a motion on that, or do we know, would you like to speak to this, Mr. Marcus?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been dealing with this project for quite a few years with town staff quite diligently. We had meetings this morning regarding the severance and minor variance applications that were on the agenda. And there are further pending changes to the application, so we'd like to request that they are deferred to the May 15th meeting. In likelihood, the severance will be withdrawn from the agenda, but the minor variance would need to move forward amended.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee members? Then do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to defer the agenda or the request till next meeting, May 15th.
Okay, and are you going to do that for both?
Yeah, do it both at the same time.
Okay, yep. Do we have a seconder on those? Okay, Member Billions? And we'll put these to a vote. We'll vote, is it okay that we vote on both at the same time? Yep. Okay, so all in favor of deferring both the consent and the minor variance application to the May meeting, raise your hand. No one opposed, so that's carried. And have the committee members had the opportunity to review the minutes from March 18, 2025? And are there any questions or comments about the minutes? No? Okay, I have a motion here from Member Antonitis, seconded by Member Billings, that the minutes be approved for March 18, 2025. We'll put this to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. No opposed. That is carried. So for the applications, tonight we have 4 applications before us. The first one we're going to hear is A1325 for 14 Mar Avenue. And I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer to present the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just get this on full screen. So the purpose of this application is to construct a second-story addition to the existing dwelling. The variance requested is to permit a minimum northerly side yard setback of 1.28 meters, whereas a minimum side yard setback of 1.8 meters is required. This is an image of the site plan, which was circulated along with the notice of hearing. This is an aerial image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, and I will summarize those comments for you now. Planning staff have reviewed the application under Section 45 of the Planning Act and are of the opinion that the minor variance meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, is appropriate for the development of the lands, and is minor in nature. Planning staff therefore have no objections to the approval of the minor variance proposed by the applicant. Public Works staff have no conditions or comments, and neither have the region nor the NPCA. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the agent or applicant here and could come to the lectern to speak to the application, please? And for the record, could you just state your name and address?
083 St. George's Drive in Beamsville. Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, the Chair. The reason for this application is simply we already had a permit. We've been approved for a permit. We constructed a second story on the building. For some reason, this was missed on our behalf and the town's behalf, that we should have applied for the minor variance before the permit was issued. So we're kind of backtracking now. My understanding is, again, the first story was already there. That was existing home. We just constructed a second story. We didn't do addition to the side or the back of the house. This is simple, a second story addition.
Okay, thank
Which
you.
is already, I'm sorry to interrupt, which is already constructed. It's
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee members? Yeah, Dylan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick clarifying question. Is the is the minor variance needed because the second story addition is overhanging I don't think I remember, is it overhanging the existing building, or is it sort of legal non-conforming right now?
From what I understand, it is not overhanging from what I saw today. Can I defer that to Mr. Basic?
Yeah, it's my understanding that the addition would be above the existing wall. That's the intent of the variance, to permit the second floor addition to be at the same setback as the main floor of the house.
Thank you.
But if I'm correct, then the setback changes if it goes from a one-story to a two-story. Is that what triggered it? Or
No, that was our former bylaw. Changed the setback based on the height of the building. Our current zoning regulations require the same setback, regardless of the height of the building.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? I see none. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this application? Sure, if you want to just come up to the lectern and just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Rhonda Sultana, 16 Mar Avenue. I just want to know what this means for our property, because we received the notice in the mail. I'm not into building. I know nothing about construction, and I work with people. So if you could let me understand a little bit more what this means.
For your property, well, this application is for 14 Mar, which is just to allow a reduction in the side yard setback that is currently allowed by the zoning. So there would be no effect, like zoning-wise on your property. This only applies to number 14 Mar.
Because we're 60.
Yeah.
Okay, so we received this just as notification?
Correct. Anyone within 60 meters, I believe it is, of the application receives a notice. And that's why you would have received that.
So we're new to Grimsby, so this is brand spanking new to me too?
Yep. Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience or public that would like to speak to this? I see none. Okay. Do we have a motion from someone on the committee? Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve this. So the motion will read as resolve that minor variance application A1325 for 14 Mar Avenue to permit a minimum northerly side yard setback of 1.28 meters, whereas a minimum side yard setback of 1.8 meters is required as per section 7.21, table 11, zoning bylaw 1445 as amended, be approved. And for the reasons that meets the four tests of a minor variance.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Fabia. So it's moved by Member Mottershead, seconded by Member Billing, that it be approved. We'll put this to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Anyone against? No, I see none. So that is carried, and it is subject to a 20-day appeal period, after which it would be legal and binding. Thank you very much. The next application we have is number A1225 for 1 Lakeside Avenue. And again, I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this application is to construct a new single-story dwelling. The variances requested are to permit a maximum lot coverage of 30.5%, whereas a maximum lot coverage of 25% is permitted. To permit a minimum exterior side yard setback of 4.94 meters, whereas a minimum exterior side yard setback of 6 meters is required. To permit a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.4 meters, whereas a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.8 meters is required. To permit a maximum building depth of 21.28 meters, whereas a maximum building depth of 20 meters is required. And also to permit a maximum porch encroachment of 1.6 meters into the required exterior side yard, whereas a maximum porch encroachment of 1.5 meters is required. To permit a maximum porch encroachment of 2.9 meters into the required rear yard, whereas a maximum porch encroachment of 1.5 meters into the required rear yard is permitted. And finally, to permit a maximum garage width of 62.5% of the building width, whereas a maximum garage width of 50% of the building width is permitted. This is an image of the site plan, which was circulated along with the notice. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, and I will summarize those comments for you now. Planning staff support the minor variances proposed by the applicant. They have reviewed the application in the context of the 4 tests outlined under Section 45 of the Planning Act, and are of the opinion that the minor variances meet the intent of the zoning bylaw, are desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and are minor in nature. Heritage staff say that the requested minor variances for the property at 1 Lakeside Drive do not impact the cultural heritage value of the adjacent designated heritage pump house property at 447 Elizabeth Street. Heritage planning staff defer to the planning memorandum on the recommendation for approval. Public Works staff does not have any conditions, but offers the following comments. At the building permit stage, prior to issuance of a building permit, Public Works staff will require lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that stormwater runoff will not negatively impact nor rely upon neighboring properties. The plan shall include all proposed downspout discharge locations, all hardscape surfaces such as driveways, walkways, patios, etc., and all existing and proposed physical features, including hydrants, decks, catch basins, etc. The plan shall also include the location of all existing and proposed servicing, including sanitary, storm, and water infrastructure. At the building permit stage, prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall apply for an entrance permit for removal of the existing driveway on Lakeside Drive and to construct the proposed driveway access onto Elizabeth Street for review and approval by Public Works staff. At the building permit stage, prior to issuance of a building permit, if the applicant proposes new servicing locations or changes to existing servicing within the municipal right-of-way, Public Works will require the applicant to apply for a servicing permit for review and approval by Public Works staff. The NPC and the region have no comments. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the agent or applicant here and can come speak to the application?
My name is Del Vogue, number 1 Lakeside Drive. Actually, my address is 35 Kiara Drive, Stony Creek, but this is the lot which we're going to use for our future house. This is my representative architect who's working on it, and any question, he can answer it.
Good evening, committee members. My name is Fabio Di Vincenzo, 6 Shakespeare Road in Dundas, Ontario.
Do you have anything further to add to the application?
Just that the comments from Public Works are noted, and Mr. Vogue is working with an Ontario land surveyor to prepare that very plan, that site grading and drainage plan.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee members? Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the architect. Sorry, is it Mr. DiCenzo? I apologize. Just your general sort of comments. You've asked for a number of variances on this site. Just sort of in your own words, can you sort of comment on, you know, why the sheer number of variances? Is it the lot? Is it the desired building? Is it to sort of put as large a structure on this lot as possible? Just sort of some context for perhaps for me and for the other committee members. Because there's lots of, you know, there's a number of variances, which is fine, but just in your own words, the various reasons why you feel they're required.
Yes, of course. And actually, if you'd indulge me, I could just read those words that I've prepared on as part of the application. That should address that. Essentially, the minimum size and amenity areas of the desired home exceed some of the required zone provisions as detailed. The proposed one-story home is sited on the lot in order to maintain and provide a clear sight line to the lake for neighboring and adjacent properties, and the bungalow design respects the streetscape and architecture of the existing neighborhood. The low overall building height allows the proposed dwelling to blend in well with the surrounding houses, and the design takes advantage of the corner lot situation and offers great deal of landscaped green space around the entire dwelling. Further from the roads, those are Lakeside and Elizabeth, the proposed home does not overpower the corner in terms of size and scale. So as evidenced by the plot plan and the building elevations that have been proposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. That's appreciated.
Any other comments from the committee? I see none. Is there anyone in the public that would wish to speak to this application? Okay, I see none. Do we have a resolution from the committee?
I'll make that, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'd like to commend the applicant for reflecting the character of the neighborhood in his comments. I think that's great. They could probably use you on Viking Drive, actually. Sore spot here. Look back in our minutes, you'll see. So I'd like to make a motion to approve, resolve that a minor variance application A1225 for 1 Lakeside Drive to permit a maximum lot coverage of 30.5%, whereas a maximum lot coverage of 25% is permitted, as per section 721, table 11 in the zoning bylaw, as amended to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback of 4.94 meters, whereas a minimum exterior side yard setback of 6 meters is required, as per section 721 of table 11 in the zoning bylaw as amended, and to permit a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.4 meters, whereas a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.8 meters is required, as per section 721, table 11 in the zoning bylaw as amended, and to permit a maximum building depth of 21.28 meters, whereas the maximum building depth of 20 meters is required, as per zoning, or section 721, table 11 of the zoning bylaw as amended, and to permit a maximum porch encroachment of 1.6 meters into the required exterior side yard, whereas the maximum porch encroachment of 1.5 meters is required, as per section 49C in the zoning bylaw as amended, and to permit a maximum porch encroachment of 2.9 meters into the required rear yard, whereas a maximum porch encroachment of 1.5 meters as into the required rear yard is permitted, as per section 49C in the zoning bylaw as amended, and to permit a maximum garage width of 62.5% of the building width, whereas a maximum garage width of 50% of the building width is permitted, as per section 429C in the zoning bylaw as amended, be approved. I think overall it meets the 4 tests, despite the number of variances as raised by Member Bailey. I think the fact that it's a 1-story and is reflective of the character of the neighborhood a little bit more, I can support the variances. I think it meets the 4 tests as outlined in the Planning Act. No conditions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Member Billing. So let's put this to a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? I see none. This is also carried. And the 20-day appeal period will apply to this as well. Thank you. The next application we have is application A1125 for 192 North Service Road, and I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this application is to construct a single-story addition to the existing dwelling. The variances requested are to permit a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.8 meters for an addition to an existing dwelling, whereas a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters is required. To permit a maximum building depth of 21.2 meters to accommodate an addition, whereas a maximum building depth of 20 meters is required. And this is an image of the site plan, which was circulated along with the notice. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, which I will summarize for you now. Planning staff have no objections to the minor variances proposed by the applicant. They have reviewed the application under Section 45 of the Planning Act and are of the opinion that the minor variances meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, are appropriate for the development of the lands, and are minor in nature. The following conditions of approval are recommended: that a development permit is obtained by the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. Public Works staff have no conditions or comments. The region has the following comments. The subject property is impacted by the region's natural environment system consisting of the Lake Ontario shoreline, Niagara Official Plan 2022 Policy 3.1.10.4 relates to naturally vegetated shorelines along Lake Ontario for development on existing lots. However, the proposed development is within the existing development footprint and separated by the lake shore by existing structures. As such, the proposed development is consistent with the NOP, and regional environmental planning staff do not recommend any requirements. The NPCA has the following comment. The NPCA has issued a permit at this address titled 2025-00196 for the proposed addition to this residential structure. The northern extent of this address is formed by Lake Ontario, and its associated regulatory setbacks traverse onto this address. The proposed addition would conflict with the erosion hazard setback at this address. The NPCA has reviewed the shoreline protection at this address and has found that it is sufficient to mitigate the erosion hazard setback at this address. As the proposed design matches the issued permit, the NPC offers no objections to proposed development at this address. Please note that any deviation from the permitted design will require an amendment from our officers prior to construction. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the agent or applicant here? And could you come to the lectern just to speak to the application?
Hello, my name is Jeremy Brown, Niagara Planning Consultants, location 219 St. Catherine Street, Smithville. We really don't have any issues with the comments. We do, however, just want to make a note that the condition that planning staff has put on has been met already prior to this date, as we already have received the NPCA work permit, which was mentioned in their comments. So it's a little bit redundant having the condition in there, but that's really the only thing we have to say about that part of it.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the committee that would like to, go ahead, Dylan?
Just something minor for my own clarification. The documents that were circulated said that the minor variance was a 1.2 meter setback, and then the motion says 1.8. I just want to make sure that I believe that it's the 1.8. I just want to be sure.
Thank you. Can we confirm that, please?
Through the chair, yes, it does appear that it's 1.8 on the site sketch.
Okay, thank you. Yep, excellent. And that's what the resolution says. Thank you for that point of clarity, Dylan. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee members? I see none. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak to this? I see none. Do we have a motion? Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one moment while I pull it up. Resolve that minor variance application A11-25 for 192 North Service Road, my apologies, to permit a minimum interior side back of 1.8 meters for an addition to an existing dwelling, whereas a minimum interior side back of setback of 3.0 meters is required, as per section 7.2.1, table 11, in zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, and to permit a maximum building depth of 21.2 meters to accommodate an addition, whereas a maximum building depth of 20 meters is required, as per section 7.2.1, table 11, in zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, be approved because it does meet the for tests, with the one condition that the development permit is obtained by the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Yep, okay, Kevin. So it's moved by Member Bailey, seconded by Member Antonitis. And let's put this to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Walter, go ahead.
Oh, here it is. Thank you. I concur with the the applicant's representative that that condition should be removed as the permit has already been issued.
Okay, thank you. Are you okay with that, Dylan, that we remove that? Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't, yeah, I included it. I wasn't sure, but happy to remove it. Thank you.
Okay, yep, thank you for that point, concurred. Okay, great, so it is now approved without conditions, but we'll put it to a vote. So all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Anyone opposed? I see none. That is also carried. And it is, there's a 20-day appeal period for that one as well. Thank you, Mr. Brown. The last application we have for tonight is A3324 for 61 Main Street East, and I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this application is to facilitate the construction of a commercial building. The variances requested are to permit the front wall at the first story of the building to occupy a width of 59% of the distance of the front lot line, whereas a minimum of 80% is required. To permit a maximum width of individual retail or commercial unit of 15.5 meters, whereas a maximum unit width of 8 meters is permitted. To permit a minimum distance of 4.1 meters from the parking lot to the property line of an abutting residential zone, whereas a minimum of 4.5 meters is required. To permit a minimum width of entrance or exit to the lot of 6 meters, whereas a minimum of 7.5 meters is required. To permit a minimum distance of 0.4 meters from the entrance or exit to a side or rear lot line, whereas a minimum of 3 meters is required. The accessible parking variance is on here. However, the zoning bylaw has since been amended to be consistent with the proposed standard. So therefore, a variance is not required for this one. And also another variance is to permit a minimum width of a loading space of 3 meters, whereas a minimum of 3.5 meters is required. And finally, to permit a loading space to be 14 meters from a residential zone, whereas a minimum of 15 meters is required. This is an image of the site plan which was circulated along with the notice. The two variances for reducing the parking are not a part of the application anymore. And this is an image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, and I will summarize those comments for you now. Planning staff have no objections to the minor variances proposed by the applicant. They have reviewed the application under Section 45 of the Planning Act and are of the opinion that the minor variances meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, are appropriate for the development of the lands, and are minor in nature. Heritage staff comments the following. Heritage planning staff recommend that the following conditions be added as a condition of approval. The conditions to ensure that any adverse impacts resulting from the use of heavy machinery are adequately mitigated. In the event that strain is identified on the vibration monitoring devices installed on the heritage building addressed as 63 Main Street East, the property owners will work with heritage staff to develop a strategy to reduce the continual use of heavy machinery. The strategy will establish duration limits and determine when breaks are necessary, allowing the historic masonry foundation of the heritage resource to recover and alleviate strain. In summary, the requested minor variances do not impact the cultural heritage value of the adjacent heritage property at 63 Main Street East. Heritage staff recommend that the trees planted on the site be of Carolinian variety to enhance the town's existing tree canopy. This will be addressed through the site plan approval process. Additionally, heritage staff will work with the property owners to provide support in mitigating any potential impacts resulting from the use of heavy machinery. Heritage planning staff defer to the planning memorandum on the recommendation for approval. Public Works staff have no conditions or comments, and neither do the region or the NPCA. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the agent or owner here and wish to speak to the application? Thank you.
Carlin Rosart, Rosart Properties, our offices, 226 South Service Road, Oakville. I'm really excited to be here and thank everyone for their time. I'm third generation, the only third generation member of our family business. 17 years of my career have been involved in the town of Grimsby, and a lot of our company's projects and investment in my 20 years here have been in Grimsby as well. We've developed 55 Main, the adjacent site, 10,000 square feet of commercial in the heart of Grimsby's downtown. We've developed 60,000 square feet of a AAA office building, the Casablanca Corporate Center at Casablanca, 13 Windward Drive, and now look forward to 61 Main, prime piece in the heart of Grimsby's downtown that we would like to move forward with. If I could speak to the quality of the tenants, these are current operators in the Niagara region, and our 3,000 square foot tenant on the ground floor and the 1,000 square foot psychiatrist on the second floor have been locked in with us with confidence in most notably the community, the site, and our business for a lease for over 3 years, if not longer. So we're really excited that they've stood by us. And the second floor tenant, the psychiatrist, actually services people in your community and saw the demand for it. These are first responders. These are people where, again, they have another psychiatrist's office, but they know that people in the ambulance and police industries will want to use the service in your community. Our focus is to move forward and represent not only our tenants, but our relationship with the town of Grimsby and, just develop a signature site downtown.
Thank you for that, Mr. Rosart. Do you have anything you'd like to add, or otherwise I'll put it to the committee?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have some comments.
Thank you.
I do have a slide deck to go through just to provide some more context. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make you guys stay late. All right, next slide, please. So as you've heard, the property is 61 Main Street. You saw a brief aerial image from Ms. Abawardine. I practiced that at the office and I knew I would screw it up. The property is located generally on the eastern edge of downtown. The cross street is Main Street and Robinson Street. You can see the subject lands outlined in red there. They have an approximate frontage of 25.7 meters on Main Street and an approximate area of 1,780 square meters. The property has a few mature trees. Some are going to be lost to development, unfortunately, but they will be replaced with new tree species. As you heard in the heritage comments, we'll have a look at that, make sure they're of Carolinian lineage. You'll note on this image that I've highlighted two adjacent properties in the light green. That'll make more sense as we get a few slides further in, but for reference, those are the properties of 1 and 3 Robinson Street, and they are zoned as residential within the town's zoning bylaw. And so the implication there is separation of parking and loading spaces. Next slide, please. This shows a similar slide, similar image again of just the current context of the subject lands. You'll see there's an existing entrance on the westerly side or left-hand side of the property, existing entrance to Main Street. That entrance is going to be, or is proposed to be, retained through construction with some minor modification to upgrade the approach to Main Street East. Next slide, please. Again, this is just an image, similar image to what was shared from the staff report. The proposal is a 2-story commercial building. In total, it will equate to approximately 7,000 to 8,000 square feet of new commercial space in the downtown. You heard my client, Mr. Rosart, speak about the future tenants. It is 2 stories, although the ground floor is a little less than the zoning bylaw. Our hope was to do a 2-story building with a porte cochere entrance as a means to mitigate any concern in not meeting that one provision, which leads to the next slide, please, which shows the variance number 1 that was noted on the notice that was circulated. This is to deal with the reduction in ground floor wall along the street line. The township's bylaw requires 80%, and we're proposing 59%, and that's due primarily to the proposed driveway entrance on the left-hand or west side of the property and a 5-foot, I believe it's 5-foot sidewalk. So altogether, you lose about 7.5 meters of the property width. The town's bylaw requires 80. It doesn't provide any kind of exemptions from that. If you look at other municipalities like Hamilton, they exempt that from the calculation. But in Grimsby, that's not the case. So we felt it was appropriate to provide a 2nd story that overhung that to kind of mitigate some of that lost street wall. So the top floor you can see is 93% coverage of the lot line. So if you were to take an average of the 2, you'd be at 76%, which is a lot closer to that 80%. Next slide shows some context of surrounding commercial uses in close proximity to the site. So we're asking for an increase to the maximum permitted width of a commercial unit in the downtown. 8 meters is permitted now, but we're asking for 15.5. There are, a wide variety of commercial uses in the downtown, some as small as 5 or 6 meters, and some up in excess of 14, 15, 16. You can see here the client's building at 55 Main Street, and then the TD Bank across the street. So the width of the unit, we're asking for an increase. It allows that ground floor use of a retail eyewear and optometrist to utilize the entire ground floor space, as opposed to breaking it up into smaller units. Next slide, please. So variance 3 deals with the separation of a parking lot to a residentially zoned property. I showed on the original aerial the outline of the green properties. That was to tie into one of this variance. So the rear of those properties on Robinson abuts the back corner of my client's property. And the separation from the parking lot in that one pinch point on the corner is 4.1 meters. By and large, the interface between the parking lot and the adjacent property is well in excess of 4.5 meters. You can see that the property line is skewed at an angle to the proposed parking lot. So it's really just that pinch point. As you move further south along the property, it will be well in excess of 4.5 meters separation from that residential zone. So we felt that it was a minor variance that was easily supported. Next slide, please. Next slide shows the Main Street facade of the building. You can see the pedestrian there. That's where the 5-foot sidewalk would be. You can see the car representative of where the 6-meter drive aisle would be, leading from the street to the back of the property. And you can see the column supporting the upper story on the left-hand side. So this variance deals with the driveway. The town's current zoning bylaw standard requires 7.5 meters. Given that this is an existing driveway in the downtown, and the desire is to not have speeding vehicles exiting from the driveway, we felt it was necessary or important to keep that at 6 meters. That allows us to reduce that original variance. If we had gone to 7.5 meter driveway width, we would have lost another 5 feet of the building face, and we felt that was a more important variance or important design criteria to adhere to. If you were to look at Main Street East, any driveways along that street are primarily 6 meters as it is, so it is really a common driveway context along Main Street East. Next slide, please. Similarly, this one is dealing with the driveway again, but this is dealing with the location of a driveway relative to a side lot line. Again, this is an existing driveway, albeit being slightly modified, so the existing location is quite tight to the existing westerly lot line. The town requires 3. Generally, that's required to address any kind of incompatibilities or nuisance between driveways and property lines, perhaps in introducing landscape. But given the tight context in the downtown, we felt it was appropriate to maintain that driveway location, and with that is the reduction to that separation variance. Next slide, please. Staff did note that variance number 6 is not required. An update to the town's bylaw has been passed. We had been requesting variances and through other projects, zoning bylaw amendments to bring those barrier-free parking requirements in line with the AODA standards. So that's what's been achieved, and I understand the variance is removed from the decision now. Variance number 7 is the parking space request to reduce that from 3.5 to 3 meters. Again, a fairly minor change. It won't impact the overall function of the site. So we felt, again, it was a minor request. And lastly, Mr. Chair, the next slide is what was originally variance number 8. And again, this ties back into my comments about the adjacent residential properties. The properties are set back. You can see there's a little jog in the property line as you move back from the building. The red arrow is approximately where that property line is of the adjacent residential zone. And the requirement is a separation from a loading space to a residential zone of 15 meters, but that pinch point there is 14 meters, and that is the rear yard of that adjacent residential dwelling. And it really is it's a technical variance in our opinion. The loading space is adjacent to the next door commercial use, not the actual residential use. So we felt it was a technical variance given that it's dimension taken on an angle, but it is a requirement nonetheless. So it's a requested variance to reduce that by 1 meter. And again, a pretty minor request or difference in our opinion. So, we note staff's support of the application, staff's recommendation, as well as our original supporting documentation identified that we felt that the variances were minor in nature, appropriate for the development of the land, and consistent with the official plan and zoning bylaw. I would like to conclude my comments with a question/statement about the heritage comments. We do have an active site plan application with the town. It's gone through, I believe, two submissions. We're gearing up to make our 3rd submission, hopefully end of the week. Do you work on Friday?
Not this Friday.
Not this Friday. Okay, so maybe Monday. No, do you work Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, so Monday. I don't know how to, it's not common to see conditions to a minor variance. In my opinion, it's difficult to enforce them. I think a site plan application, we have one active, is a more appropriate mechanism that this requirement for the vibration monitoring should be implemented. It would be consistent with other site plan applications we have active in the town right now where there are heritage properties adjacent. So we would like to request that is left off the decision as a condition. It's more appropriate with a site plan application. So those are my comments, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus. Do we have any comments or questions from the committee?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's to Mr. Marcus or the owners since they're here. Is there any attempt to perhaps improve circulation since you own the adjacent property to the west, to maybe improve the circulation by joining either through a driveway or other means the parking at the back? It seems that we've got 2 separate entrances, 2 separate developments, but they're owned by related or the same party. I'm just thinking for overall flow in that area, would there be any merit to considering that? And then second would be, I agree with you regarding the vibration monitoring device on a minor variance. I find it ridiculous. What do they want you to do? Build it by hand? Like, there's going to be heavy equipment there. It's a commercial development. It's a commercial area. To me, it's a ridiculous overreach on behalf of Heritage in this location. It's not a home. So I would concur with removing that condition. So first question back to you on the parking.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through to the member. I'm going to go backwards to number 2 first. I'm not suggesting that it's not a requirement in general with the site plan. Again, it's consistent with other projects we're working on in the town. It is, I just don't feel that the application as a condition to a minor variance is appropriate. So that was my suggestion. To the circulation question, it is something that we had looked at through the site plan process. My client's concern was with the difference in uses between the adjacent lands and the proposed uses on the subject lands, and their desire to keep those proposed uses separate. So that's why we proposed to keep the entrance as it is and have the building overhang the top to try to mitigate any of those concerns that might arise from a loss of street wall.
Thank you. Yep. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, just with the condition, I'm just got a little bit torn on it because Heritage recommends it. The agent doesn't want it. I'm just wondering, I don't think Heritage staff is there, but whatever planning can comment on whether it can be best implemented at the site plan stage.
Mr. Basic, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm going to recommend to the committee that it be deferred, or not deferred, but not included as a condition. We can adequately address this through the site plan process and through the site plan agreement as we have with other projects in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? I see none. Anybody from the public like to speak to this? No? Do we have a motion? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application without a condition. File number A33-24. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? 61 Main Street East. Okay, variance is requested to permit the front wall of the first story of the building to occupy a width of 59% of the distance of the front lot line, whereas a minimum of 80% is required as per section 8.3.2.4E in zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, to permit a maximum width of individual retail commercial unit of 15.5 meters, whereas the maximum unit width of 8.0 meters is permitted as per section 8.3.2.4 in zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, to permit a minimum distance of 4.1 meters from the parking lot to the property line of an abutting residential zone, whereas a minimum of 4.5 meters is required as per section 5.5 in zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, to permit a minimum width of entrance exit to the lot of 6.0 meters, whereas a minimum of 7.5 meters is required as per section 5.11B, zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, to permit a minimum distance of 0.40 meters from the entrance exit to a side or rear lot line, whereas a minimum of 3.0 meters is required as per section 5.11, zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended, to permit a minimum accessible parking space dimension of 3.4 meters by 5.75 meters with a 1.5 meter painted aisle for a type A space, 2.4 meters by 5.7 meters with a 1.5 meter painted aisle for a type B space, whereas a minimum width of 4.5 meters is required as per section 5.13 zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended. To permit a minimum width of loading space of 3 meters, whereas a minimum of 3.5 meters is required as per section 5.15 zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended. Finally, to permit a loading space to be 14.0 meters from a residential zone, whereas a minimum of 15 meters is required as per section 5.15 zoning bylaw 14-45 as amended. I feel this property meets all of the tests as recommended by staff. I feel the building brings a retail element to downtown Grimsby, and I feel it also fits into the streetscape of the existing buildings.
Thank you. If I could make a friendly amendment to the resolution before we second it, to remove two of these variances. So I'll read them. So to remove to permit a minimum accessible parking space dimension of 3.4 meters by 5.75 meters with a 1.5 meter painted aisle for type A space and 2.4 meter by 5.75 meter with a 1.5 meter painted aisle for type B space, whereas a minimum width of 4.5 meters is required as per section 513B in zoning bylaw 1445 as amended. Just to remove those two variances because they've been addressed already, if you're okay with that.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a resolution. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Member Mottershead is going to second that. So moved by Member Billing, seconded by Member Mottershead, and we'll put this to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? I see none. This one is also carried and subject to the 20-day appeal period. Thank you, Mr. Rosart, and thank you, Mr. Marcus. So the next committee meeting for the Committee of Adjustment will be held May 20th, 2025. And that's, go ahead, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed there wasn't other business on the agenda. So I'm just wondering if I put a question of planning. They've been briefed about the strong mayor powers and how it might affect future committee decisions.
Okay, yep. So the question is the strong mayor powers and how it may affect the committee decisions moving forward. Would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. I'll happily answer that question by stating that I don't know, and we're looking into that. Thank you.
I appreciate the answer. Is that
okay? Thank you. No, because I was looking at the situation in St. Catharines, and my reading is correct that there was, I think, a minor variance application for Costco. Some of the variances weren't approved, and the mayor initiated a zoning bylaw amendment, and then it went to council, and I think it got approved unanimously. So basically overrode the committee's decision. But we'll wait till we get the official word. If we're going to get these powers from Grimsby, and I guess lawyers will figure out what they can do and what they can't do.
Thank you. So you're on notice for next month. We're going to ask again. Okay, so if that's all for other business, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Recording stopped.